In this presentation, we will begin discussing the performing forces of music. Each instrument and voice has a different quality of sound known as its timbre or tone color. The factors that determine the timbre or tone color include size, shape, material from which it is made, and the manner in which sound is produced. A musician's physique and approach to an instrument will also affect the timbre. As a result, no two musicians will sound exactly alike, even performing the same piece on an identical instrument. The human voice is a natural type of musical instrument employed by every culture. From highest to lowest, soprano, mezzo-soprano, and alto, which is short for contralto, are the most common voice designations for women. For men, they are tenor, baritone, and bass. Specialists have devised a system for classifying instruments based on the method of tone production. The four basic categories in this system are aerophones, which produce sound through the use of air; chordophones, which produce sound from a vibrating string stretched between 2 points that is set into motion by plucking, bowing, or striking; idiophones, which produce sound from the substance of the instrument itself by striking, rubbing, shaking, or scraping; and membranophones, which produce sound from tightly stretched membranes by striking, rubbing, plucking, or singing into it. The instruments commonly used in Western music are often categorized into 4 groups or families: strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. The string family, which is all chordophones, consists of 2 categories of instruments, bowed and plucked. The bowed string family includes the violin, the viola, the violoncello, also known as just the cello, and the double bass. They are often called the heart of the orchestra due to the prominence of this section in almost all symphonic works. The bowed string family can be played in many styles and produce special effects that are interesting to observe in a concert setting. The most common style of playing is the legato style, which is when the notes are smoothly connected. A short and detached style of playing is called staccato. Other effects include pizzicato, where the player tucks the bow under his hand and plucks the strings, and double, triple, or quadruple stopping, which is the playing of 2, 3, or 4 strings together, and a number of other effects. You might notice in a concert setting that although there are many players in each string section, the movement of the bows is well coordinated. The bowings are usually handwritten into the parts by the principal players of each section. 2 very popular plucked stringed instruments are the harp and the guitar. The harp is one of the oldest musical instruments. The modern harp weighs about 80 pounds and is approximately 6 feet high. It has 7 pedals and 47 strings. The guitar is also an ancient instrument dating back to the Middle Ages. It most likely originated in the Middle East. Woodwind instruments, listed here, are aerophones and were formerly made of wood. The principle of sound production on a woodwind is the division of an air column, either by directing the air toward a blowing edge on the opposite side of a mouth hole, or by single or double reed attached to a mouthpiece. The flute is the earliest known musical instrument. The orchestra traditionally tunes to the oboe because it is the least adjustable instrument in the orchestra, next to the piano. Once the reed is made, there is no other way for the oboist to adjust the pitch. The primary instruments of the brass family, also aerophones, are the trumpet, French horn or horn, trombone, and tuba. The sound is produced by buzzing into a cone-shaped mouthpiece attached to a length of tubing that flares out at the end into a bell. Trumpets and horns were first made from animal horns or tusks and used mainly for religious ceremonies and for military signals. Other brass instruments found in bands include the cornet, bugle, flugelhorn, and euphonium. There are 2 categories of percussion instruments: those that have definite pitch and those of indefinite pitch. Listed here are examples of percussion instruments that have definite pitch. Percussion instruments that do not produce a definite pitch include the snare and bass drums. Other non-pitched Percussion instruments include the castanets, cymbals, triangle, and gong. The gong is a broad circular disc of metal suspended from a frame, so it hangs freely. It is widely used in the Far East and Asia, where it is part of an ensemble known as a gamelan, which is pictured here. Some instruments are difficult to place in one instrument family. One example is the piano, which has strings struck with hammers. The organ is a type of wind instrument. Its airflow is controlled by a console with 2 or more keyboards and a pedal keyboard. A harpsichord is an early keyboard instrument widely used in the Baroque era. Its metal strings are plucked by quills. Choral music is sung around the world for both sacred and secular occasions. A chorus is a large body of singers who perform together. Choruses can be comprised of men or women only, or both. A choir is traditionally a smaller group of singers, often associated with a church or the performance of sacred music. A cappella music is vocal music performed without instrumental accompaniment. Instrumental ensembles can range from a chamber ensemble, which features 2 to 12 players, to an orchestra, which may consist of 85 or more members. The most well-known type of chamber ensemble is the string quartet, made up of 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. A duo sonata consists of a soloist with the piano. The piano trio, quartet, and quintet includes a piano along with string instruments. The term band can be applied to a variety of ensembles which feature winds and percussion at their core rather than strings. A concert band, sometimes called a wind ensemble, can range from 40 to 80 players. A marching band often entertains at sports events and parades. The term band may also be applied to jazz or rock ensembles. A jazz band consists of a rhythm section of percussion, bass, piano, and electric guitar. In addition, a jazz band might include a brass section and a reed section, made up of saxophones and a clarinet. A rock band usually features electric guitars, vocals, percussion, and synthesizers. The term orchestra may be applied to any performing body with diverse instruments. In Western culture, the term orchestra is now synonymous with symphony orchestra, which is an ensemble of strings along with woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments. The instruments of an orchestra are arranged according to the best balance of sound. The strings are in the front, woodwinds in the middle, and brass and percussion instruments are in the back. A conductor is usually needed to lead large ensembles, such as orchestra, concert band, or chorus. As leader of the group, they are most useful in helping the performers keep the same tempo. They accomplish this by flourishing a thin stick, called a baton, in patterns that indicate the strong and weak beats of the music. The conductor is also responsible for interpreting the music for the group, with regard to all devices of musical expression and the rehearsal of the ensemble. The concertmaster of an orchestra is the first chair violinist who makes decisions with regard to bowing and other technical details of playing for the violin section. He or she is also in charge of tuning the orchestra before concerts and rehearsals. In a concert band, the concertmaster is the first chair clarinet or oboe. There are 2 suggested listenings for this presentation. The first is Handel's "For Unto Us a Child is Born" from the Messiah, which is a choral work with orchestra that provides polyphonic entrances for each voice part. The second, The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, Opus 34, is an introduction to the modern orchestra. It was composed in 1946 by British composer Benjamin Britten for an educational documentary. Its purpose is to demonstrate the sound of each instrument and section of the orchestra. The form of this piece is the statement of a theme by the entire orchestra, followed by a series of 13 short variations, each featuring a new instrument in order from highest to low. The work ends with a fugue, a polyphonic form that was very popular in the Baroque era. This concludes the presentations for this module. Make sure to do the readings and view supplemental resources.